Hello, and welcome to part 5 of our videos on the appendicular skeleton. In parts 1 through 4, we looked at the pectoral girdle, the upper arm, the lower arm, and the hand. Remember, for the hand, I'm going to test you on the individual carpals in lab, and you need to know the number of carpals. Now, this is the hip. I made the mistake of not grabbing the model, so I am holding these two hips together with a clamp. Now, you will notice that there is a cavity right there, and that is the pelvic cavity. There's not a true border for the abdominal cavity, but it forms the pelvic cavity. Now back here, I would have the sacrum. So the sacrum should, in theory, if there wasn't a clamp in the way, fit in. And remember the auricle of the sacrum? Well, look, that looks just like an ear right there. The auricle of the sacrum actually hooks up with the auricle of the hip bones. So this is the hip. The hip is the coxal region, and it is made up of two hip bones called os coxae. So this bone over here is one os coxae. This bone right here is another. Now they fuse in life. It starts out as 3 bones though. So in reality, this os coxae is the pubic bone right here, the ilium up here, and then this bone in the back called the ischium. So this is the ischium right here. I've gone to enough yoga classes where I've heard sits bone. That drives me crazy. Do not call it the sits bone. It is the ischium. So the ischium, the pubic, and the ilium. The reason why I'm holding this together with a clamp is that I wanted to actually show you where the pubic bones are. The pubic bones are anterior and medial. When students try to put this up to their hip, they try to rotate it around their legs so the pubic bone is lateral. It's not. The pubic bone is very anterior. The ilium is superior. And the ischium. See this bony tuberosity back here? That is what you feel when you go for a 2-hour-long bike ride. My training plan tomorrow, bike for an hour. I'm going to be feeling it, except I have a 5-inch pad on my bike seat and 20-inch padding in my bike shorts. It might be the other way around. Now, another feature of the hip bone is it has to articulate with the femur. So there is this thing right here called the acetabulum. I just like saying acetabulum. The acetabulum is a socket. It is going to form a ball and socket joint with the femur. Now, this ball and socket joint does not give you as much range of motion as the humerus and the glenoid fossa. So I think the book says 230 degrees of rotation. I'm not worried about the degrees of rotation. So the pubic bone has to be anterior, and the acetabulum has to be lateral. Then there's a giant foramen that's actually formed by the ischium and the pubic bone called the obturator foramen. That foramen, you're going to have a blood vessel and a nerve pass out of. So the os coxa is actually 3 bones. The largest of the 3 and the most superior is the ilium, which is up here, and it forms the superior part of the acetabulum. The anterior bone is going to be the pubic bone. So this is facing anterior. This is the pubic bone right here. This whole bone right here is the ilium. Now, on the posterior surface, so I turn this all the way around, we have the ischium right here. So the ischium is the posterior bone. And it is going to articulate with the sacrum at the auricular surface right here. And it articulates with the femur. The head of the femur, let's see if I can get that closer. The head of the femur goes into the acetabulum. So here's the picture, lowered down a little bit. So this bone back here is the ischium. This is the bone that tells you, you've been sitting on this bike for 3 hours. When are we going to stop and have coffee? That's what most bicycle riders do. They go and have coffee at some distant location or have someone that I was in a meeting with. He has favorite breweries on both sides of the Richmond San Rafael Bridge, so he goes from one side to the other, apparently. So, the acetabulum, I just like saying acetabulum, is this socket right here, formed by the ilium the ischium, and the pubic bone. Now this opitoid or foramen right here, that is a foramen. It allows for blood vessels and nerves to leave. And one of these blood vessels and one of these nerves is going to sneak out the inguinal canal. I haven't been big on left versus right since you're not going to be handling the bones and it's sort of hard to teach it. But here we have the os coxa. And this is a girl. I will tell you how I know that later. Now right here is the pubic bone. The pubic bone is anterior. You can touch the pubic bone. It is in the center of your body, very posterior or very inferior, and it is very medial. This is the pubic bone. The acetabulum has to point lateral, and the acetabulum is formed by all three bones. This is the ischium. This is the ischial tuberosity on the back. That has to be posterior. This is the bone all those yoga instructors incorrectly call the sits bone. Do not call it the sits bone. And we have the auricular surface. It's going to be medial. And we have the iliac crest is superior. So if you feel the top of your hips, you're probably feeling the iliac crest right here. So the iliac crest has to be superior. The acetabulum has to be lateral. The pubic symphysis, that is the joint right there, that is medial and anterior. So again, students, for some reason, when they put the hip up against them, they like rotating it sort of like that for some reason. I guess it's more comfortable, but no, the pubic bone is connecting in the middle. The sacroiliac joint is right here. The two ears come together. And bonus, there's the ala. They are coming together there. And the ischial tuberosity is inferior and posterior. Again, this is not your sits bone. So, the ilium has, I think, the cooler landmarks. So, the most important, probably, in terms of muscle attachment, is this crest. This is called the iliac crest. It goes over the entire thing. So on my actual ilium here, this whole crest right here is the iliac crest. So in this bone, you can see all the junk behind now. This is the iliac crest that somebody labeled F. So a bunch of muscles attached to it on either side of it. So that is a very important landmark. Now there are these lines, allegedly. Unfortunately, this is a very smooth plastic model, and those are called gluteal lines. Your gluteus maximus and medius basically are attached here, and the medius is actually attached up here. So this whole area is actually where your gluteus muscles attach. Now, there are allegedly 3 gluteal lines. I never see them on the plastic models, and our real models, they're not very, or the real bones, they get worn down. This is the anterior gluteal line. This is the posterior gluteal line. And then we have an inferior gluteal line. Are they very clear to you? Great, can you show them to me? Because I really don't see them on the bones. So this posterior one you could sort of see. This is a drawing right there. So this is where the gluteus maximus attaches. The medius is going to be on the iliac crest. And there's 3 of them. They're not on your study guide for either lecture or lab. I do want you to know, though, that the gluteal muscles attach there. So on this slide, we've basically flipped it over. The last slide was showing it like this. So I guess you could sort of see the posterior gluteal line. Yeah, anterior, and that's supposedly the inferior. This is actually a nice model right there, I guess. So what they did, they flipped it around. So you're looking at this surface. That is the auricular surface. And then we have the iliac fossa right there. Remember, a fossa is an indentation. The auricular surface is important because the sacrum is going to articulate there and form a planar joint. And the iliac fossa side of muscle attachment, what a surprise. The main one being the iliacus muscle that joins the psoas. People who have hip flexor problems probably hate the word psoas by now. So this is actually going to join the infamous psoas muscle. So the auricular surface is medial right here, and it is going to form a joint with the sacrum. And this is the iliac fossa right here. This fossa is going to actually be the origin of the iliacus muscle. Now, it is a spiny bone as well. There are 4 spines. Fortunately, this is a recording, so I could slow it down and pause after saying each one. This spine is anterior and superior, so they call it the anterior superior iliac spine. This spine is inferior, but on the front. They call it the anterior inferior iliac spine. You see where this is going, right? This spiny thing is posterior and it's on top, so posterior superior iliac spine. Then this is probably the most important one right here. This is the posterior inferior iliac spine. And it forms a notch right there, or it helps to form the notch. The auricular surface here forms the notch. And this notch is the sciatic notch. So here is the lateral view, anterior superior, anterior inferior, posterior superior, posterior inferior. So there's this nice notch right here called the sciatic notch. 2 points to whoever guesses what the notch is called. That is, or what nerve goes through that notch. That's right, the sciatic nerve goes through there. 2 points to Gryffindor. So, I didn't say where the points would go. This is the sciatic notch right here. There's the auricular surface. I just like saying auricular surfaces. So, that is the sciatic notch. And that is where the sciatic nerve leaves. So don't stress about the spine names. They are just giving anatomists something to name. So, moving on, our pubis. The pubic bone has 2 rami. It has a superior rami there and an inferior rami down here. So superior, inferior rami. This is the symphysial surface. It is going to form the pubic symphysis, which is a type of joint between the 2 pubic bones. And fun fact, it's made out of fibrocartilage. You need to know where the fibrocartilage joints are for the second exam. So that's one of them. And then this raised structure right there, that is the pubic turbicle. So real quickly, pubic turbicle is right here. So this is the pubic turbicle. That's actually a very important palpating landmark because you know the inguinal canal is right next to it. So the inguinal canal would be there. So there's some nice juicy blood vessels there. This is the superior rami. This is the inferior rami. Unfortunately, the inferior rami connects to the ramus of the ischium. So I never asked those on the test. Now this is the symphysial surface where the pubic symphysis would be. The ischium, I've already introduced you to the ischial ramus right there. It's technically the inferior ischial ramus. There is a superior one there. This is the ischial tuberosity. 5 billion muscles of the hamstring attached there. Okay, 3 of the 4 hamstring muscles attached there. And we have the ischial spine right there. That's actually going to form the lesser sciatic notch. So the ischial tuberosity is right here. And that is the rough spot on the back, the hamstring muscles attached there, and the adductor vagus. This is the ischial ramus. And then we have the ischial spine making the lesser sciatic notch. So I am going to tell you in the next video how you tell the sex of your skeleton with the hip bones. And I'll mention the landmarks again real quickly on a skeleton. So thank you.